Okay, hi guys, welcome to this webinar tonight. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Biodun, and we've got Stephen on as well. Just to check if you've got a chat box, it should be on your right hand side. If you just want to try and click that, and if you just type in if you can hear me clearly and if you can see what's on my screen at the moment. So you should see a box, and you can just type in that box. So we've kind of got a lot of things to cover tonight. I'm just going to cover off. Spoke to Stephen earlier on, and really um, about getting on this, about getting in the right mindset. Basically, you see, in order to drive your business forward, you really need to be in the right mindset. And sometimes, a lot of us, for whatever reason, we can't get ourselves to do the things we know we should be doing. So again, if everyone can hear me, just type in the box, and we'll continue along. So the first thing is just to remind some people really what Aspire is all about. Aspire is about unlocking your potential, and it's really about trying to help you achieve your goals. Now, every single one of us should have a goal by now. If you've not, really tonight we'll talk about setting goals, and we'll talk about how you can begin to move towards those goals. So the first things first is just to, as I say, welcome everybody into the room, and I just want to check, Stephen, if you can you hear me okay? Good. So Aspire really started probably about 12 weeks ago, around about 12 or 13 weeks ago. And to date, we've got around, it's over 75 members now in the team. I'm just going to make sure, right, can everyone see me now? Can everyone see me on the screen? Good. So one of the things about Aspire is we started probably about, as I say, 13 weeks ago. And at the time, we really had this intention of trying to take the team to as many members as possible to build it as the biggest team within Traffic Monsoon. Now, the mission obviously was to achieve this through leadership, team effort, group support, to create a catalyst for everyone within this group. And that's the ultimate vision and the ultimate goal that we want to achieve. As I say, we've grown from 1 member to more than 75 in under 13 weeks, and that figure's growing every single week. Every single week, myself, Stephen, and anybody else that wants to get involved, because we're all part of the team, we'll just be presenting the meetings, inviting new members in to hear about the opportunity, and hopefully be converting those members to allow a business to grow. So Richard Branson's the one that said, if someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, say yes, then learn how to do it later. So let's really consider that for a moment. This opportunity we've got today with learning how to really drive our business, Traffic Monsoon itself, it can do different things for you. For some people, they're interested in advertising. Perhaps for some other people, they're interested in the revenue share. For others, they're using it to generate an income. So it really depends. What's your goal? What's your bigger picture? Now, you've got to really distinguish from where you are right now and where you want to be. So really asking yourself the question, well, where am I right now? And what's my ultimate intention with using this particular opportunity? What do I want to achieve? Now, for some people, it could be, as I say, financial independence. It could be more money. But really defining that properly is what's really going to make a difference. Really thinking about what your bigger picture goal is. So when we look at where we are right now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, how do you change your state from where you are? Look, presently, you've got certain behaviors, certain thoughts, and certain feelings. And whatever you do in life is driven by your behaviors, your thoughts, and your feelings. So how do you influence that? Well, the only way you can influence that is to really have an idea of where you want to go. An aircraft, when it takes off from Glasgow to London, probably 70% along that route, it's off course. And then the last sort of 10, 15 minutes, it turns back on course. So how can you really begin to consider, well, how will I feel when I achieve this particular goal? How do I want to think? How do I want to feel? And how will I behave? You see, because if you don't know where you're going right now, then you're probably already there. So really defining, this is where I am in my life. This is where I want to be. And really starting to put down things like there's personal goals, there might be financial goals, there might be family goals, there might be hobbies and things that you want to do. So it's really defining them. In terms of the resources that you use to get there, that the first thing you need to do is you need to divide it into steps. So you might have, from where you are just now to where you want to be, you might have 5 steps, you might have 3 steps, you might have 10 steps. It doesn't really make any difference. The number one issue that most people find is what happens is they're picturing the big goal and the end of the goal, and because for whatever reason it seems so far away or it seems out of reach, then what happens is you lose motivation, because initially a lot of people do take action. For example, if you hear about a new opportunity, some people get excited by it, you take action and you start trying to achieve your goal. But what happens along the way is you lose motivation, and for whatever reason you can't get yourself to continue that drive and that desire that you had. So the only way to address that is that we have to break that goal down into steps. And although we've got the big picture goal, the first step might be, for example, for some people it might be 100 packs. Then the next step might be 500. The next step after that might be 1500. Now you should have an end goal, because then you know where you're going, but you focus on the smaller steps, and that way you'll keep that motivation going, and you'll keep on influencing your state at every sort of part of that journey. So as I said, usually a lot of people, what happens is they're too busy focusing on the bigger picture and thinking, well, it's not happening fast enough. And there's a thing called in sort of normal goal setting, where you're using just the logical form of goal setting. You're asked to write down your goals and then split them into a time frame. Now, a time frame for your goals, you actually need a time frame, but again, one of the things about a time frame is that time frame does not need to be set in stone. So, for example, if somebody is trying to achieve their goal, and for whatever reason they find that certain things aren't happening, then all you need to do is make some adjustments and then continue in that direction so that you can achieve the goal. So here's what I was saying about steps. So, for example, and just to make sure, can everyone see that screen quite clearly? The steps 1, 2, and 3, and then the goal. You can just type in the box. There is a delay usually of 30 seconds on this. So step 1, for example, would be whatever that initial step is in the goal. It could be 100 packs, it could be 50 packs, it could be 30 packs, it doesn't really matter. And then you would have step 2 and step 3. It could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't really matter. And each of those steps, you just focus on that step intently. That's all you focus on, knowing that at some point you will get to the end goal. So, for example, if somebody has let's say somebody has a goal of getting to 1,000 packs in the system. 1,000 packs, for those of you on here, if you're members, then you know that 1,000 packs means $1,000 a day. So if that's the initial goal, the first step in that process for that particular goal might be to get to 100 packs. The next step, in step 2, you might say, right, my step 2 is to get to 500 packs. Step 3 might be 750, and then the ultimate goal might be 1,000. So it doesn't matter how you split it down. What does matter is the first thing that you then focus on is step 1, is just achieving that initial 100 packs, because then once you reach that milestone, you still be able to take inspired action. You'll still be motivated to continue on that journey. A classic example of that is if you get yourself in the correct mindset in terms of the correct headspace, if you're thinking positively and thinking that you can achieve your goal, one of the things that most people do is they take massive inspired action. It's a bit like if somebody, an example, if somebody smokes, for example, then they will go out their way to make sure they find cigarettes, regardless of money won't stop them. There's nothing that will stop them from getting that. So usually you will actually achieve it. So by focusing on that initial step, you'll begin to make progress in that direction. So the bulk of this, what I want to really discuss today, is to really give you a feel for how can you actually start to go on this journey using a process called the attraction factor. Now, the attraction factor consists of a number of steps, and it's really influencing your mindset, because if you're in the right mindset, then you will go out and make sure that things happen, regardless of what anybody else says. You'll just continue on that journey because you'll be taking inspired action. And every time you get a result, it makes you feel better. Every time you feel better, then you'll continue to do that. So really what we want to influence is our emotional state. If we can stay in the right emotional state, then we get this feeling inside where we're kind of fired up and we just continue to move in that direction. So it's a 5-step process. There's 5 steps in the process, and the most common thing that we do usually is you ask somebody what they want, and they'll say things like, well, I'm fed up being broke, or I don't want to be broke, or I don't want to work long hours. So a lot of the time they're focusing on what they don't want. Intently, they're focusing on what they don't want. So the first thing you need to do is certainly you decide you know what you don't want. So everyone in here, from this particular opportunity in this business, they know what they don't want. So in other words, perhaps you know that, well, I don't want to just be clicking 10 minutes a day just to earn $20 a day. So it's really setting that down to say, well, let me just define exactly what I don't want and know exactly what that is. It might be for some people, well, I don't want to be struggling anymore to pay bills, or I don't want to spend a lot of time, as much time as I do at the moment, working on my business or whatever. So it's just defining that, writing that down. So I suggest that if anyone needs these kind of slides, I can give you them after, but I suggest that you write some stuff down as well, just so that, you know, when you write things down, you take it in a lot better. So knowing exactly what you don't want is the first step. The second step in the process is obviously you select what you do want. So if you're thinking about this particular opportunity, what is your reason for doing this? What exactly do you want? Is it just I want to develop more leads for my business? Is it I want to use this as an income to replace my current income? Is it additional income? So it's defining exactly what you do want, because once you ask yourself that particular question, then you can start to, later on in this series of webinars, we'll probably start to address how you get over things that are stopping you. And there's a number of questions that you can ask for that. You know, one of the questions I could ask somebody just now would be, you know, what has to happen in order for you to achieve your goal? Now, if you answer that question, and not just in a conscious way, but if you think about it, spend some time on that question, you will define exactly what you need to do to achieve your goal. And if you define that, then you know exactly what's stopping you. If you know what's stopping you, then we can address the root cause of what's stopping you to get there, because usually we already know. We already know what's stopping us. There's a part of us, for whatever reason, that we can't get out of bed in the morning, or we can't focus when we're meant to be focusing because we're too busy on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or we're too busy doing other stuff. Or a lot of the time we're distracted and we're focusing on other things instead of focusing on the things that are important, which is all down to prioritizing. Clearing all negative or limiting beliefs. Beliefs are formed in an instant. Our values, core values we're grown up with, such as values of trust, values of friendship. But one of the things about limiting beliefs, they're formed in an instant. So a limiting belief, you can really you can really change that. Can be changed quite easily. It's one of these things that if for whatever reason somebody has told you something and you've had evidence of it, then you can accept that as a belief. But if I said to everybody on this webinar just now, 85% of all analgesic drugs, so drugs that are used for pain control, are attributable to placebo. So in other words, a lot of those drugs, it's the mind that's doing it as opposed to the actual drugs. So our limiting beliefs can actually stop us from doing anything. And limiting beliefs that are attached to things like this type of opportunity might be things like, you hear people saying things like, I just don't think I'm worth it, or it's really difficult to try and get money, or money's the root of all evil. So all these things that you hear people saying that they've possibly grown up or they've heard around them as they've been growing up. And sometimes are limiting beliefs, or sometimes you see somebody and think, well, I don't think I could achieve what that person's achieving. But if you ask yourself the question, well, why do you think like that? Then usually it's due to a limiting belief that you've got, because there's something stopping you. So limiting beliefs are, most of the time, they're not completely true, and they can be challenged. Once a limiting belief is challenged, and hopefully at some stage we'll get to do this in live trainings, once a limiting belief is challenged, we can pretty much get rid of that limiting belief completely. You know, you'll hear people say things like, my metabolism slowed down. I mean, how do people know that? All these things and beliefs that we're consistently surrounded by. So we really want to be challenging them. And once we clear those limiting beliefs, it really clears the path for people to go on and achieve things that perhaps they've not been able to achieve before. So you can think about, certainly think about that. The next one is, and I'll just get this on the screen. Just let me know if you can see my screen here. Can you see the three steps there just now? Okay, I'll just bring up the fourth one. The next one is, we need to feel it, we need to sense it, and we need to visualize it. What do I mean by that? Well, it's quite simple. Once you know what you don't want, so you're no longer focusing on that at all. So whenever you hear yourself saying things like, oh, I just wish I could afford this, or I just wish I could do this, you're identifying exactly what you don't want, and a lot of the time we're focusing on that. So select what you do want, focus exactly on what you want, clearing on limiting and negative beliefs, which we can work on in a live training, and feel it, sense it, visualize it. If you're visualizing something and assuming that you've already visualized it in a way that you've already achieved it, or you've already got it, so you're thinking about a particular situation, I can't wait till I achieve X goal, and you want to really feel it and sense it. Now, visualization is really extremely powerful, and that's why you find that most sports people and most athletes, they use a lot of visualization, and they often say, well, I visualized it and I seen myself achieving this. Through time, even people like Oprah Winfrey and stuff like that, over the years, you've heard her story where she's told the story about she always knew that she was going to receive an Oscar. She always knew that she was going to achieve certain things in life, even with the background and stuff that she went through and all the issues that she had. There's so many other examples of that, where people have consistently visualized what they want. Now, when you visualize it, where attention goes, energy flows. So if you visualize it, you sense it, and you feel it, what tends to happen is you want to be feeling a sense of already achieving it. Now, if you feel that, that usually gives you a feel-good factor. If you have that feel-good factor, then your focus is different, because your focus of attention keeps you going. You take inspired action, so you're not forcing yourself every day to get up and do what you need to do. So it's like topping up your motivation bucket, where you're just you're able to be in the right mindset, and if you're in the right mindset, things will happen a lot easier. Things will be, the journey will be a lot smoother for you. You see, what a lot of people do as well is sometimes they achieve their goal, and because there's been a long period of time in between when they set the goal and when they achieved it, and because they've not been focusing on each step and recognizing each step, okay, I've got to 100 packs, for example, I've got to 500, I've got to 1,000, because there's not really been any sort of recognition there, and they're too busy focusing on the end goal, then what can happen is when they reach the end goal, they don't get a sense of satisfaction, so they don't feel the way they want to feel. Now, if that happens, then that could effectively cause challenges, because it can create conflict. So really, you want to know exactly how you're going to feel when you get that goal. So right now, if anybody in here can spend some time at some point to really define that goal properly, define the steps. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps, it makes no difference. And you can use this in any sort of goal setting procedure, because a lot of the traditional goal setting method, the problem with that is that, write your goals down, write your time frame, and just get out there and read your goals every day. I mean, if there's no emotional attachment to your goal, it doesn't mean as much. There has to be an emotional attachment. In other words, when I reach 1,000 packs, that will give me $1,000 a week. So it's not the $1,000, it's what you're going to do with $1,000. How do you see yourself spending that money? How do you see yourself improving your life in some way? How do you see yourself improving the life of your family and those around you? What's that particular goal going to do for you? So if somebody's got the goal of maybe buying a new car, and they've got a specific car in mind, then one of the greatest things you could do is you go into the showroom, you get into the car, you sit in the car, you smell the leather, you feel it, you sense it as you're in the car, chat to the salesperson. So in your mind, and you get pictures of it, perhaps you can make up a vision board. But in your mind, what happens is, generally your sense of smell is really, really strong, and it's one of the senses that aren't that distorted. The rest of them, your visual senses, your hearing, your feelings, all distorted completely. But your sense of smell is really, really probably the most accurate. What actually happens is you will actually remember the exact smell of that leather. So every night when you're visualizing, you're thinking about that, it makes it kind of keeps you on track, so that you can really take that inspired action, because it makes it more emotional. So there's an emotional attachment to it. And you start to consider, well, how it's, the driving about with that car, you can smell the leather, you can feel it, and you can sense it. So spending a little bit of time on that is quite important. And then once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you have to then let go of the whole situation of consistently criticizing yourself because you're listening to the voice in our mind. You have to let go of that and just take massive action. Usually inspired massive action is better, so you're not forcing yourself. But we will have dealt with that if we deal with number 3. What stops people from taking inspired action is the limiting beliefs and negative beliefs that we've got. So everybody in here in the room possibly has worked in a company before. Some of you haven't, maybe some of you have been self-employed, but you've been surrounded by people, because we're surrounded by people every day. And if you just listen to the language in some places, it's, somebody comes in the morning, how are you this morning? Oh, I had a terrible weekend, and bang, that's it, they're off. Because that communication is then influencing them in the way they're feeling. But not only that, they're beginning to influence other people around them. So it's really considering things like that and considering our communication as well. One of the interesting things was there was a recent, a while back, Socrates, actually, well, quite a while back, Socrates was approached by one of the guys that followed him around, who says, "Oh, I've got some news to tell you." And Socrates said, "Okay, before you tell me this news, let me ask you a couple of questions." He says, "Is this news? Is it about somebody that you know?" And he says, "Well, no, it's not about somebody I know personally, but it came from a good source." And he said, "Okay, so let me just ask you then, so this news, is it something that you know to be true?" He says, well, I don't know it to be true, but as I said, it did come from a good source, but I didn't witness it. And he said, okay, let me ask you one more question. Is it positive or negative? And the guy thought for a minute and said, well, I suppose if you put it like that, it's probably a little bit negative. And Socrates said to him, and this is a classic example of in a work environment, Socrates turned around and said to him, okay, so let me just get this straight. So you want to tell me some news about something that you heard from somebody else that you didn't hear direct, about something that you don't know exactly to be true, and it's negative. And the guy says, well, when you put it like that, he said, well, I suppose so. And Socrates said, you know what, I think I'll pass, just leave it. So how often do we find ourselves caught up in situations? So I want you to really consider these 5 steps that we've got. You knowing exactly what you don't want, selecting what you do want, clearing all negative and limiting beliefs, feeling it, sense it, visualizing it, and letting go and taking massive action. And even if you spend some time on this, and if anybody needs me to send them any information, you can just get in touch and I'll send that across to you. But initially defining our goals and our visions is going to make a really big difference in terms of achieving that goal. But then what we do is we generally then focus on just the first step and just allowing that to manifest itself so that we're taking inspired action. Because we all know exactly what we should be doing. We know we should be out talking to people, but for some reason, there's something that always stops us. And then by dealing with that, a lot of the stuff that does stop us could stem from growing up in childhood. Some people don't like maybe approaching people with an opportunity. So a lot of the time, our friends and our family aren't the best people to approach anyway. There might be other people that we know that advertise, but aren't aware of this particular source. So that might be a source for them. And what we've got to remember as well is the sources of income within this opportunity are immense, because it's not just one source. We can get income from simply people just advertising. So you might sign up somebody on a free account. If they advertise, you get 10% of whatever they spend. So there's so many different options. So that just, we wanted to really keep this webinar reasonably short so that we can give you a flavour of the things to come on the webinar. It's really going to be all about the mindset that you need to get into, the psychology, and how that can make a difference. And then Stephen's going to do some technical training just to finish off, so that if there's anything that people are interested in or people want to focus on, if you can let us know. For example, for the upcoming webinars that we've got, if you just give us, just send us a message saying we'd like to work on these particular things, then we can focus on that, because obviously everybody's different. Some people like more technical training. Some people want to deal with the psychology of how you can achieve more in the business or in the opportunity. But if you take anybody within this opportunity at the moment, any of the people that are involved in the opportunity, and sometimes you're presented with things like, okay, this person is the top salesperson, or not necessarily salesperson, the top person within this opportunity. And we hear things like, okay, this person's earning £192,000 a month, or £2 million a year. And we think, wow, that's amazing. But what we forget is that person started off exactly where we are. So exactly where we are, that person started off, but they held that vision and they held that goal. And very rarely do these people achieve anything without taking massive action. So they've gone out, they've taken massive action, probably working a lot of hours to achieve that level. So when you take yourself and you compare it yourself to somebody else, it's really looking at that and saying, well, if that person can achieve that, then the possibility is I have the opportunity to be able to achieve more, because we have the same access to resources. Really all we need is our platform. We need an internet connection. We need a computer. I think that's about it. I don't even think you need a computer. It's easier, but you can do it on your mobile phone. So really we've all got the same opportunity. And as long as we follow certain steps, then we can all get there. So I hope that was useful for the people that are on this this webinar. And if anybody's got any questions at the moment, if you can just put it in just type into the chat, and I'll pass in a moment. I'll pass you to Stephen, who's going to share some other concepts with you. So if anyone's got anything that they want to ask about that, if you just put, just type into the box and that'll come up. It's usually always a good sign when nobody's got any questions anyway. However, what I'll do is I'll just now pass to Stephen now, and we'll try and get him onto the actual live section, and he can just share some other information. Now, if anyone wants any technical information, again, if you just let us know about that, and we'll do our best to do that. Okay. Right, Stephen, if you can hear me, can you just type in the box there, and just if you can see if you can activate your mic now. Okay, it looks like there might be some technical issues, but anyway, guys, not to worry. What we will do is we will just we'll bring this webinar to a close unless there's any other questions, and then we'll put another webinar on for probably next week, and at that webinar we'll probably go through some technical training. So, guys, have a great evening, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thanks.